Who do you think had the biggest political impact of all time? Any musician?
The biggest political impact I've probably seen all time, have to say Public Enemy or Tupac.
Both good answers, absolutely. Who do you think made the biggest political impact of all time, musician, as far as society and politics?
John Lennon.
John Lennon, Imagine, great song.
I'll give a different answer, and I agree with that, but let's say Bruce Springsteen.
How come?
Made in America?
American legend, yeah. The second question was, who do you think has made the biggest political impact of all time? Would you say Zach De La Rocha as well?
Yeah, I would say him and Rage they've made a pretty huge political impact and stamp on pretty much since the 90s, and with what they've brought pretty much since their inception.
Absolutely, I'm a huge fan.
I would say Harry Belafonte, because he funded the civil rights movement, and he was like one of the first black artists to go platinum. And also Earth, Wind & Fire as well. They were the first in the industry to make $1 million as a band.
And he's still, to this day, Harry Belafonte, very outspoken, very intelligent, very necessary.
Yes, sir.
That's a really tough one. Biggest political impact? I mean, I'm going to have to go with John Lennon. He was, the CIA had files on him and stuff, so I think that, he was actually considered a threat to the political, realm.
I didn't know that the CIA had files on him.
Yeah. So he was considered a threat to the whole the political realm of the country and stuff. So I think that he was really taken seriously in that respect.
On that note, I want to say, MLK Day we just celebrated, great man. The FBI actually sent him a suicide letter and told him to kill himself, and that's something that a lot of people don't know. It's even on Wikipedia. Yeah, it's an unknown fact, but it's like, these are things that people should probably think about, that some of the greatest people in our history were targeted by our government. It's pretty creepy.
That is really creepy. It's scary that the government isn't afraid to go to such lengths. Like, what else are they not afraid to do?
Especially such peaceful people like MLK and John Lennon. I mean, I can't think of two more peaceful people. It's pretty gross. Who do you think has made the biggest political impact as a musician of all time?
Oh boy, that's a deep question, man.
Deep questions only here.
No one in the past 20 years, really. I'm thinking probably back in the 70s, 60s era. That's when stuff was popping off.
Bob Dylan.
John Lennon
is a good contributor.
John Lennon.
For sure.
John Lennon is definitely up there, man. John Lennon's super high up there for me, personally.
Agreed. Who do you think's made the biggest political impact of all time in music?
Biggest political impact in music? That's a tough question. No one lately.
How about in the past?
Let me think. There's plenty of John Lennon comes to mind, but there's the whole Woodstock era was politically motivated, and there were so many great musicians in that era that we just don't see today.
We don't. And the irony is, a lot of celebrities and people are talking about politics, but it's like they're not saying much. It's like it's not the same.
They're jumping on a cause. They're going with what's hot. They're reaching out angrily at certain politicians, which I don't blame them, but
it's not the same as the Lennons and the Jimi Hendrixes and
they're
whatnot.
Not starting it, they're just following it.
I agree.
No, if you look at a history of America, you have Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. They wrote political songs, and politics is part of their operation.
Cool.
These are the old school guys, and then John Lennon, of course.
A lot of people have been saying not many people have referenced newer people. A lot of people have said to me, nobody in the past 20 years. So
record labels are very reticent to involve politics in the music that they sell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Advertisers don't want to touch it, especially now.
Phenomenon of the 60s. But you can't get away with it these days.
Now, especially everything's so polarized. It seems like if you get political, the one side tries to attack the advertisers. So like the record label's like, I don't want to say.
You don't want to touch it.
Yeah, understandable. People are crazy. We need to have dialogue instead of attacking everybody.
I agree totally. I don't think there's anything wrong with political songs. I mean, in the past, Pete Seeger is. He's one of the most famous folk singers in history, and it was all about politics.
Well, now
Dylan,
Absolutely. Nowadays, they try to kind of hone in on the narrative. They try to push their narrative and kind of silence people for saying their thing. Like, it seems like even in music, I grew up on music. Hip hop music changed my life, and people like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. Nowadays, it seems like it's like an echo chamber. Like they want everyone to just be like clones, like say the same thing. We need some diversity, some variety, some life changers.
It's been like that for a long time. I mean, the recording industry is actually, it's surprisingly conservative.
Interesting. Wow.
Very. Guy sells 1,000 records. Everybody's going to jump on that sales and try to imitate him. You know.
Interesting.
That's how the industry works. You know, McDonald's sells 1 billion hamburgers, and then everybody wants to open a hamburger joint. So originality sort of gets it can get lost in the shuffle. I mean, it doesn't always.
They have a formula, and if it works, it works. They don't like to slide from it. Who do you think has made the biggest political impact musically, and why?
Wow, I can't even answer that question.
These are tough questions. It's like I know nothing, so you don't. It doesn't have to be for sure. It's just however you feel. Well,
I think musicians should speak their mind, and I'm in the middle ground on. I've been around a while. I'm not a kid, so I'm kind of practical. I'm not as idealistic as I used to be when I was your age. So, you got to take care of business, but you got to not ignore the problems around you. So,
who do you think has made the biggest political impact of all time musically? Rare question.
Gosh.
We're hitting you with the tough ones.
I need a second to think.
We got time.
I don't have time. I don't have time for that question. It's too big for me.
We can go one more. Well,
name a few.
I mean, some people have said John Lennon, some people have said Tupac, some people said nobody in the last 20 years. Some guy said a guitarist that I've never heard of, and he was like, go home and research that. And I was like, okay, please don't hit me.
I just appreciate when artists use their platform for good.
I agree.